Imagine for a moment that you are a great white shark, a top predator. Nothing scares you until the ocean goes silent, save for the haunting whistle of something even bigger. Out of the blue, a black and white shadow appears, a killer whale, but not just one, a coordinated hunting team. The last few years have given us some crazy insights into how these two revered ocean predators are locked in a battle for survival. And today we're going to be diving into this wild ocean story about how killer whales are taking down great white sharks, ripping out their livers with almost surgical precision, and what that might mean for shark behavior in certain parts of the world. In particular, we're going to be honing in on a potential battleground, the Strait of Gibraltar and the Iberian Peninsula. Could killer whales actually be blocking great whites from moving through this critical gateway between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean? Could these apex predators be reshaping entire migration routes in this part of the world? And is this the reason we're yet to see a confirmed white shark sighting in UK waters? Well, stick around, as a bit later on we'll be hearing from a marine mammal specialist, and together we'll be breaking down the hunts and the science of this silent battle beneath the waves. Welcome back to another Shark Bites episode, everyone. Killer whales versus great white sharks. It's probably been some of the most viral content that I have seen in the shark niche of the internet ever since I started Shark Bites. And no one really knows whether this is recent behavior or whether it's been happening for a very long time and we've only just noticed. But it seems to be happening a lot more frequently and in many more locations around the world than we first thought. Just over 25 years ago, a pair of killer whales were first observed attacking and killing a white shark near the Farallon Islands, just off the coast of Central California. Tagging data revealed in the hours and days after the incident, white sharks rapidly fled the area and didn't come back for the entire season. And the scientists working here on the Farallon Islands managed to show that white sharks would virtually completely disappear every time killer whales came within just 3 kilometers of the islands. In the years since, though, we've managed to document several locations around the world where similar predation events have taken place. There's 3 spots in South Africa: False Bay, Gansbaai and Mossel Bay, one on the southeast coast of Australia, and in the Gulf of California off the coast of Mexico. This increasing prevalence over the last 3 or 4 years or so has led many to question whether this predator-prey relationship can be seen in other locations around the world where the known range of white sharks and killer whales overlaps. And one of these speculated battlegrounds or emerging conflict areas is the Strait of Gibraltar, feeding into the northeast Atlantic Ocean. Now, I'm going to caveat this right at the start here. What we're going to be speaking about today is totally speculative. As it stands, there's no widely accepted, well-documented or peer-reviewed cases of killer whales preying on white sharks in this part of the world. Now, despite that, I would say it's still a pretty interesting hypothesis because there's a group of killer whales here that have been dominating the headlines recently. You might have heard about them before because they're causing absolute chaos for yachts and boats that have been sailing along this coastline now for the last few years. Now, I'm not a specialist in marine mammals, fish are more my thing, so I decided on this occasion to bring in someone who could tell you exactly what's going down with these killer whales. Take it away, KP.
Thanks, Chris. I'm KP, a marine biologist who specializes in marine mammals like whales and dolphins. The Iberian orcas are a fascinating population of about 39 individuals in the Atlantic, primarily off the coast of Spain and Portugal, but they've occasionally ventured into the Mediterranean. According to reports, these orcas began attacking ships in 2020.
Can you go away? I'm about to do it again.
Since then, they've damaged hundreds of ships and sunk at least 8. It's easy to see why these attacks have captured headlines and imaginations worldwide.
That's 10 miles away.
Unfortunately, it's also led to a lot of speculation, misinformation, and theories using the most casual definition of the word. One really popular theory is that this is revenge for overfishing, that these orcas are tired of humans stealing their food. But a workshop commissioned by the Spanish and Portuguese governments involving marine biologists and management authorities found the exact opposite was true and concluded the behavior was perhaps encouraged by the recent increased abundance and availability of prey, reducing the time needed for foraging. Another problem with this theory is that the orcas are not targeting fishing boats. They're targeting mono-hulled vessels with spade-shaped rudders, like catamarans and yachts. The orcas actually use fishing boats to their advantage. They've learned how to take tuna from fishing lines and nets. This is something called depredation, and it is a convenient way for them to get food. So they likely see the fishing boats as a tool, not a threat. This is still dangerous for the orcas and can lead to injuries from fishing hooks or ship strikes. which is probably the most prominent theory floating around, that an orca named White Gladys was injured by a boat and is out for revenge. The biggest problem is that it never happened. Interactions with these orcas are extremely well documented, and you can read about them at orcaiberica.org. While a lot of Iberian orcas have scars from ships and fishing lines, White Gladys does not, and there was no recorded incident of her ever being struck by a boat. It's just a speculative story that people came up with to explain her behavior, and people ran with it because it made a good headline. It's true that White Gladys is the orca involved in most of the interactions, but Gladys is not her name. Her name is White or Blanca. Gladys is a title derived from the word gladiator or gladiator-like, and is given to any Iberian orca that interacts with a ship. In total, 15 of the 39 individual Iberian orcas have been deemed Gladys, and the vast majority of them are juveniles, which leads me to the leading explanation and consensus theory among marine biologists. The Gladys are rambunctious young animals who apparently have too much time on their hands. The Gladys are playing, which was the conclusion of the workshop commissioned by the Spanish and Portuguese governments. Killer whales are large, powerful animals who are known to play with other objects or animals in their environment to the point of damaging them. In the Pacific Northwest, the southern resident killer whales have been seen wearing dead salmon on their heads or playing with harbor porpoises to the point of killing them, but not eating them. As one researcher put it, if the orcas were out for revenge, they would have sunk 600 ships, not just 8. The orcas typically stop once they've broken the ship's rudder, which they're often seen playing with after. They also tend to stop when people let go of the wheel, the same way a dog will stop playing tug-of-war when you drop your end of the rope, which is why it's been recommended to simply play dead in the water if the orcas are around. Also call for help, probably though.
We need assistance immediately. We are sinking.
But just because it's all fun and games doesn't mean it's not serious or dangerous. Nobody wants to be a toy for a 5-ton apex predator. Just ask the harbor porpoises.
Whee! Thanks, KP. We're going to be hearing from her a little bit later on about the specific killer whale ecotypes that live here and how they might be interacting with their prey species, so stick around for that. Now, when we're looking at white sharks in the Mediterranean, we know that these sharks will scavenge. We spoke all about the Mediterranean white shark diet in this video here, where they feed on all sorts of things, but based on the scientific literature that we went through, it seems like various tuna species make up a decent part of a white shark's diet in this part of the world. Based on anecdotal sightings of white sharks scattered around the Mediterranean, if we match that up with the time of year, their movements around the basin are at least likely in part dictated somewhat by the movements of tuna. And those various tuna species will move into and out of the Mediterranean at certain times of the year. They'll come into spawn around June, July-ish, and then they'll move back out again towards their feeding grounds in the Northeast Atlantic in September, October time. In the last 5 years, we've seen a huge increase in Atlantic bluefin tuna sightings here in Cornwall, so much so that they've actually reopened the fishery, and there's even the Tuna Catch and Release Championships that are held in the first week of September right here in Falmouth where I live. So the bluefin tuna here, by many accounts, are doing a lot better than they have been over the last 30 years. And you can bet that those Mediterranean white sharks, who, like we said earlier, definitely have a diet that revolves around tuna, are going to be following them out of the Strait of Gibraltar and up the coast of Western Europe. And we do have some anecdotal evidence of that happening as well. A few years back now in 2021, a 4.5 to 5 meter white shark was filmed off the coast of northwest Spain at the port of Corunna. At the time, officials believed it to be disorientated, which, yeah, there could have been a chance that it was, but I'm not sure. I actually think that shark was exactly where it wanted to be at that point in time. The shark itself was seen twice over the space of 2 weeks, the first time here in the port of Corunna on September 30th, and then again on the 16th of October, about 250 miles along the coast in Ribadesella. Those timings right there are bang on for the bluefin tuna migration, who are going to be in and around the Northeast Atlantic, the Bay of Biscay, and Cornwall around September, October time. And I think that white shark could quite easily have been following those tuna as they moved out of the Med and along the Atlantic coast of Western Europe, which of course puts it right in the firing line for those Iberian Peninsula killer whales who've been having a great time ripping off yacht rudders. Studies have shown this killer whale population is very active in and around the strait itself and the southern coast of the Iberian Peninsula. And we have all those reports of boat interactions from them further up the peninsula as well. So at the very least, we've got a spatial crossover here at around about the right times of year for both white sharks and killer whales. But the real question is, are they actually interacting with each other? The relationship between these two animals that we've seen in those other parts of the world is definitely a predator-prey relationship, with the killer whale being the predator and the white shark being the prey. So if they were interacting, it's food-related, at least on the side of the killer whale anyway. But the special thing about killer whale populations is that they're often very unique in their behaviours. In the marine biology world, we'd refer to these populations as ecotypes. But to talk you through killer whale ecotypes, I'm going to bring back KP for you.
If you didn't know there were different types of orcas, I don't blame you. They were all assumed to be the same until about 15 years ago. Today, there are 10 officially recognized variations known as ecotypes, each with unique genetics, appearances, and hunting strategies. Most orcas live in matriarchal societies where mothers and grandmothers pass behaviors and survival skills down to their offspring, including how to hunt and where to find food at different times of the year. The skills and techniques needed to hunt seals are very different from the ones needed to hunt sharks. And some orca ecotypes that specifically hunt seals will hunt them in completely different ways. The type B killer whales coordinate to create waves that wash seals off of ice floes, while type A killer whales in Patagonia have learned how to safely beach themselves. Southern resident killer whales, the ecotype seen wearing salmon hats and killing but not eating harbor porpoises, exclusively eat fish, and Chinook salmon in particular. The Iberian orca ecotype is one of the smaller ecotypes, and they specialize in hunting Atlantic bluefin tuna using two foraging strategies. The first is depredation, where the whales will take tuna from fishing lines and nets. The second is endurance exhaustion strategy, where they actively herd schools of tuna to the point of exhaustion, similar to the way wolves herd elk and deer. These are both very different from the way shark-eating ecotypes hunt, which involves grabbing the shark by the pectoral fin and flipping it onto its back to induce tonic immobility. There are two ecotypes known to regularly prey on sharks. The most famous is the flat-toothed ecotype of South Africa, led by the brothers Port and Starboard, who have been filmed eating the livers of great white sharks. The flat-toothed ecotype got their name because shark skin is abrasive, like sandpaper, and will wear their teeth flat down to the gum line. But for more on that, I'm going to throw it back to Chris.
Thanks again, KP. So, like the white sharks in this part of the world, the killer whales are also likely feeding on the tuna, but are significantly more specialized to those tuna than the white sharks are. When we see these two animals interacting with each other in other parts of the world, for example, South Africa, like KP says, those killer whales are showing morphological evidence that they've been feeding on sharks. Their teeth are flat and ground down from the shark's tough skin and cartilage. And our Iberian Peninsula killer whales, when they've been examined after stranding, have pointed, sharp teeth, a feature that corresponds more with a diet of bony fish. If we look at this from a pure numbers perspective as well, the numbers that we're talking about here for both of these species in this part of the world are extraordinarily low. The population of killer whales found along this coastline at its most recent estimate was thought to be just shy of 40 individuals. It's so low that they're considered to be critically endangered. And the white sharks here too, their numbers are also clearly very low. The sightings that we have for them outside of the Strait of Gibraltar are incredibly sporadic. Hell, the sightings that we have for them inside the Med are sporadic as well. So it doesn't make much sense to me anyway for a small population of killer whales to be feeding on a food source in those white sharks that are also very, very low in their number too. Of course, there's always a chance that an opportunistic Iberian Peninsula killer whale could prey on a white shark here, but I just don't think it'd be happening enough for us to say definitively that, yeah, these killer whales are stopping the movements of white sharks up this coastline and across the channel towards the UK. There just isn't really enough evidence for us to conclude that, which means I do think that if these bluefin tuna numbers remain stable or even increase, and that is a big if, there's a chance we could get one of those occasional lone white sharks following them over here. I don't think that those killer whales are that interested in stopping them. And for a shark scientist based here in Cornwall, that is an exciting thought, but it has to remain as that for now. Just a thought. What probably is reducing our chances of that happening though, is the fact that white sharks in this region are clearly incredibly low in their number already. So we'd probably need to see a rebound in their population first before anything. Massive thanks to KP for coming over here to Shark Bites and talking us through those killer whales. I found it so interesting, and I bet there's a lot of you at home that did as well, so make sure you show KP some love. Also, if you're interested, as part of this collaboration, I've featured in a video on her channel all about animals that cheat death. There's a shark species that I imagine probably pops straight into your head, so if you want to find out exactly what that shark species is, make sure you go and head over to her channel. I'll post the link to it in the description below. For the time being here on Shark Bites, if you want to learn a little bit more about the scavenging diet of Mediterranean white sharks, then you might quite enjoy this video here. In it, we break down some diet analysis studies revealing exactly what these sharks are eating. You've heard about the bluefin tuna today, but in this video, there's some even crazier food items that you're going to want to know about, so make sure you give it a click.